At Orchids, the international school, our pursuit of excellence transcends mere academic achievement. We delve deeper, seeking to unlock the full potential within each child. Our meticulously crafted curriculum goes beyond the confines of textbooks, fostering holistic growth through a multifaceted approach. Embrace the transformative power of education. Join us on a quest to discover the hidden genius within every student. Witness the blossoming of minds and forging of futures. Orchids, the International School.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the next episode of Shaping Minds, a conversation with Orchids educators. So, today we have Dr. Vedavati B.A., who has been in the education industry for about 20 odd years. And now we are fortunate to have her as our VP ACADS for our Bangalore zone. Thank you so much, ma'am, for coming here, taking time out from your busy schedule and joining us for this session. So before we delve into to discuss the topics for which we are here today, we would like to hear about what prompted you and to turn to education sector. When did you decide, and what was your inspiration that I want to take up teaching and I want to go in this sector?
Thank you, Lakshmi. It's a pleasure being a part of this conversation. Probably this journey started for me when I was in grade 8.
Grade 8?
Yes.
Wow.
When I was in grade 8, I was just playing in the evening. I was just playing outside. I had my neighbor coming to me and talking to me casually. She just asked me, बेटा मेरी बेटी को ABCD पढ़ा लोगी क्या? वो पढ़ने में थोड़ा दिक्कत है उसके लिए, तो आप पढ़ा लोगी? मैंने कहा ठीक है, अच्छा आंटी मैं पढ़ा लूँगी. So she asked me, then every day I used to just teach for her half an hour to 20 minutes. So from her family, we had 5 kids. They used to come to me. So within a month, they could see the change and the progress, children getting acquainted, everything. So through this, I got my other neighbors coming to me. So when I was in grade 8, I started conducting tuitions without my knowledge. So that was
From
not
grade
actually,
8?
Yes.
You had to study and you had to
Yes,
teach.
yes. I used to come
Okay.
home by 8:30.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 5:30. And by 6 o'clock, I used to sit. 6 to 8:30, I used to conduct tuitions.
Tuitions.
And from 9 to 9:30, almost 10, I was supposed to do the household work also, because we never had maid and all those stuff. So after that, from 10 o'clock to 11:30 or 12, we used to study. And then we used to go to bed. And again, 5:30, we used to get up and start with our daily routine. So that's how my journey with the children started. I even remember today, I used to wear my bag. We didn't have the bags like this. We used to wear the bag on our shoulders, both the back. And I used to walk. Parents used to talk to me. They used to just say, Namaste, madam. So I used to feel so elevated and pride during that point of time. So that was the start for my journey, and that the way they were connecting with me, the way I was connecting with the students, I never felt that I used to teach them. So I used to just enjoy with them. So that's where I started. From that day to this day, I'm feeling the same. When I'm in the classroom, when I'm with the teachers, when I'm with my principals, I feel the same. It's always just an exchange program what we do. So when we keep doing this, I think probably when you have this joy in your work, you never get that boredom factor. So that's where I feel you need to always enjoy the process. So I've been enjoying this.
Wow. So you are in this sector not because of any pressure or this and all. It's by your own drive and passion. And so I think I should correct my intro. It's not 20 plus years. You have been in this
25.
teaching about like 30 odd years, because
it will be
it's
almost
even more.
38 to 40 years.
Yeah, 30
Yes.
plus years, because you've been teaching since
Correct.
you were a kid. Wow, that's really great to hear. And I feel that's an inspiring story, that you can make your passion into your profession and excel in it. Now, before again we talk about Orchids and about what you do specifically, ma'am, recently there has been a lot of talk about NEP.
Correct.
Since its inception, its introduction in 2020, there has been talk about national education policy everywhere.
Yes.
And believe me, though we don't know, though not many laymen and novice like me, we don't know what NEP is about, just what the media has to offer. So, to throw some light on what actually NEP is and what is the rationale behind its introduction, can you please elaborate on the same?
See, the National Education Policy 2020 It's actually a transformation in the curriculum and the pedagogy. Whatever we had before, probably if I really need to relate, if you could have known, we had gurukuls.
Yes.
In gurukuls, probably children used to come to the class. They used to sit, and the guru used to teach them, and it was never with the books or rote learning. It is always it was through experiential learning. So I can connect that national education policy is directly linked with it. So it is just a transformation of complete pedagogy, the way we connect with the students. It is more of skill based activity, it is more of experiential learning, and especially the structure. See, usually what we used to do, this pre primary was a separate entity previously, but now we want to bring that also as a part of the foundational education. See, foundational years are very, very important, which
Absolutely.
we try to ignore sometimes. So that's where we feel we have to include that. So that we have included. Like we have the structure as 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4, which is very, very easy to connect and take through. The pre-primary, that is nursery, LKG, UKG, grade 1, grade 2, 5
Okay, that
into
is
one
fine.
sector.
I didn't know
That is into one sector.
Okay.
Then grade 3, grade 4, 5, that is into other sector.
Other sector.
Then again 6, 7, 8, it is into other sector. 3 plus 3. Again, we have 9, 10, 11 and 12. That is 4. So that is into one sector. Why this? Foundational years, we really need to concentrate more on our gross motor skills. Especially when we sit in the classrooms, we need to connect with our hands, with the books what we read, with the activities what we do. That's why we have a lot of kit activities during that time. We just send the students to sandpit area to hold the, if you have seen, we start with crayons, then pencils, because it is just to develop the gross motor skills. Then we come to the activity based learning, then the experiential
So,
learning.
sorry, ma'am. So these are all part of the national education policy
Yes,
to do this. And why exactly was it introduced in the first place? How does it change the education sector or the curriculum as it know it from the traditional methods to now? How does it change that with the
See, over a
government's
period of
introduction?
change, over a period of time, I believe very strongly, we started lecture methods, more of lecture methods. If you have
Okay.
seen, usually the classrooms will be engaged only by the teachers. The teacher would be a main role. Main role. Yes, of course, she will be a part of that completely. But in the classrooms, we can always see the teacher will be talking and the students will be just listening.
It's a monologue.
Yes,
Correct.
It has been throughout for years and years that ages. Now NEP is focusing a change, activity based learning. It must be student centric. It must be more of interactive sessions. It has to be like, the children need to actually involve. The teacher must be a tutor. The teacher has to be a felicitator. So this is what we are looking at. And not only that, inclusive education is what we are looking into the NEP policy. And at the same time, we are also making sure the children will have the choice of subjects, the skill-based learning. When we say one, very simple, if we want a child, if the child wants to really go out and buy something and really understand, the child is very good at mathematics, but you send him to a shop or something to bring something, probably calculating becomes very difficult because the child is completely oriented in the classroom.
Yeah.
There is never application based learning. That is seeping down. So now the education policy will try to bring that level up and pace it like as it was before.
Okay. So thank you so much for explaining in detail about the rationale, the objective of national education policy. So if I understand correctly, that is in a way, it's a way to democratize education.
Correct.
To make everything uniform, the pedagogy, the curriculum, the way of teaching, everybody becomes equal, and all the schools will also become equal. A way of democratizing our education system and equalizing the mechanism. So how exactly is ORCIDS implementing NEP? What are the strategies and other means that ORCIDS employs to adapt NEP into our curriculum or into our ways of teaching?
Okay. I basically haven't given the complete gist of NEP, but I've just given you a very small glimpse of what it actually encounters. But if I just take what is happening in ORCIDS, if I just look into the skill-based activity, when I just say this, We start from grade 6. There in NEP it says that from grade 6 we have to give one subject for the child as a choice, wherein he connects, like whether it is a carpentry, whether it is a farming, whether it is a horticulture. We have to give one choice as for the child to choose that subject. But in Orchids we have a program known as DIY, do it yourself, which we give it to grade 1 to grade 10. We start from there. We can see the children, in the classroom, in the lab, DIY lab. They get into the lab. They use the wood. They use the wood. They cut the wood. They refine the wood. They make a truck. We have seen the program is there as of now in our Orchids. The grade 5 students can actually develop a bullock cart by using wood completely. A grade 3 child, give her a raw leather piece. She will give you a leather pouch made out of it. She sews it. She takes the needle. She inserts the thread. She cuts it. And for that, yes, I'm using the word cut. We follow all the safety precautions over here. The children in the lab will have the safety gloves, the safety goggles. Yeah, that they wear. And we make sure the children will be using that with the teacher supervision. The teacher trains, and we don't tell the teacher to do it. The teacher makes the child to do it. And we can see the child also will get that warmth and confidence that I have done this. And we allow the child to take that home. The child has made his own pencil pouch, they can use it. The child has made his own, pencil cap out of it, which he uses it in the classroom for the pencils. So this is what we do. The experiential learning starts from grade 1. The skill-based learning starts from grade 1, wherein the education policy says grade 6. So the experiential learning is there throughout for our kids. What we say in NEP. When I say in NEP, we have experiential learning. We don't believe in lecture method. We have a lot of kids in grade 1 to grade 10. Again, we have English literacy kits for EYP also, early years program. We have literacy kit, numeracy kit for mathematics. Then we have robotics kit from grade 1 to grade 10. Then we have English kits. So this kits what they focus on. It's not just, you just learn and leave it off. They bring that. They just use that in their hands to understand what is happening. For example, in grade K2 is UKG.
Yes.
UKG kids, if they really want to learn greater than
The board itself. They have the kit, they use the numbers, they keep the numbers and they try to build over there.
Build it.
So that's how they will be able to connect with it. So this is again an experiential with skill-based learning, which NEP says, and we have just taken it up.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for that detailed explanation. Really glad to hear about how Orchids has diligently adapted and seamlessly integrated the goals and objectives and curriculum outlined in NEP into our curriculum as well. You talked about skill-based learning, you talked about the different labs where we are teaching it, and you talked about how a teacher's monologue is changed to a place where the teacher is being a facilitator of learning and education for students. But normally, all the kids are treated equally, right?
Yeah.
So, but every kid's needs may be different. And for example, there'll be certain kids who are good at maths, but the science may be totally very difficult for them. It may be a challenge for them. Each kid's individual abilities and that may be different for every subject. But as a norm, we treat all the kids the same itself when it comes to pedagogy. Is there something which Orchids is doing which goes over and above what NEP outlines in its policy, where this individual and personal attention is taken into account?
There are, huge list, I can say, but I will try to cover few.
Please.
See, we have a special way or special approach when we get into the classroom, which we call it as DLT, that is the differentiated learning technique. Though we say this, but I haven't seen people using it very productively in the classrooms. But we do it in Orchids very strongly. what is this DLT? What is this differentiated learning technique? When the word directly says it is a differentiated learning technique, now we have different set of students in the classroom. So probably when I was a kid, I never was able to understand anything what was happening in physics when I used to sit, you know. And if I go to any of the art and craft work, because that was mandatory and I was supposed to go, and I used to cry and sit, and I used to, view that, all those stuff, because I was not interested. And it was like few children were interested, they got into and they came up. But I was not interested, but I was forced to learn. Today you tell me, though I know how knitting, weaving, but I don't know, I've lost it, because it's just because I was supposed to get into the classroom and do it. But
Yes.
what we do in Orchids is, if you are really not able to understand any topic, but at least you will be able to make sure that you know what is happening in that particular zone. That is what this DLT focuses on. What exactly we do in the classroom is, we just get into the classroom. Now, for example, we have 3 different types of students. The one who can catch the things easily.
Yep.
Okay, we just call them as EE because they are exceeding expectations, and that's why we tag them as EE. But we never tell them that they are EE students. So they are EE and they are really doing well. And for them, we have a special way of approach, which I'll just come to you. And we have the second set of students who are average, whatever you say, I'll just listen. Yes, for me, I have to complete it and I will do. So they are making sure that they're understanding and they're trying to get this completely in their zone. So there we call them as meeting expectation students. And we have the other set of students where we really need to concentrate. We call them as NS, that is the needs support students. So how we actually do is, we give a problem. I'll give you an example to understand that better. If we are doing addition and we give them that, 3-digit numbers to get added with 2-digit number. We start with it. So we just give the 5 sums on the board. There are a few set of students who complete it fast. Then what we do? We give them 4-digit number with 3-digit number addition. They will be able to do easily. They are completely packed because they know what they have to do. And the other set of students, this is EE, who can do it completely. The other set of students, ME students, yes, we will see to that whether they have completed or not. And then we just go to this NS students and we try to support them with, what exactly they have to get into, whether the 3-digit, whether they're able to understand or not. If not, we go to a step low. We go with 2-digit number, with 1-digit number, where the child feels comfortable. Oh, I'm able to understand this. Then the child goes to the next level. So now everyone is taken care in this 40 minutes classroom. We have a unique method in our Orchids, which we proudly say that we are following. That is TOTW. TOTW.
TW.
That is the Orchids teaching way. We call it as the Orchids teaching way. Wherein, as a teacher, I'm not fixed at one position. You stand and you teach everywhere, all the students. See, if you're standing here, I understand. So when I'm just standing here, I'm talking to you, I'm looking at you, you will be looking at me. But if I'm there in the corner, or if I'm, usually all parents say, oh, my child is sitting in the last bench. As a teacher, you will be not able to really concentrate. That they actually say. But in this Orchids teaching way, that will never happen. If you're even in any corner, nook and corner of the classroom, we will be able to pull you. So that is, the teacher moves around. She never fixes herself to the,
To the
stage or to the place. She keeps moving. Even now, if you have noticed, I can never talk to you without my hand movement. This is like, natural, because the teachers always have this intuition. Yeah, complete body gestures. We can't just stand at one place and teach. We just move around to understand what is happening. When I walk to the side of the child becomes cautious. So that's how we will be able to, have that complete control on each and every child in the classroom. They are with us throughout the 40 minutes. This is one easy trick, wherein the child also will not know, the teacher also will not feel. Okay. And when during the movement, we also look at the interest of the students, whether they are having the books, whether they're having the things what they want, just our eyes movement of here and there. So that time they will be able to understand what is happening in the class. And during this movement, the teacher will help the child who really needs the complete concentration, right? Sometimes there will be naughty students. They just need one push from the teacher. That push is given to this. we have around 13 to 15 points, which might take really a long, but this is 1 or 2 points which I'm just letting you know, which happens in the TOTW. And at the same time, we also make sure whatever the content we give it, we actually elicit answer from the students. We never actually explain. If we want to introduce a topic, the teacher will not just come and just say, oh, this today I'll be teaching you the plant life, and in plant life today you will be learning about the parts of the plant. No, it's not that. The teacher will have a probing, open and closed-ended questions, and also we concentrate on this why factor. The child needs to understand why I'm learning this.
Yeah.
I've learned trigonometry without even knowing why
Why
I've
we
been
learn
doing
it in the
trigonometry in my
first place.
grade 10. So always it's like, hypotenuse square is equal to the, adjacent side with the, straight angle. I was trying to understand why I'm learning this. And we simply learned calculus, trigonometry without even understanding where we are using. But later on, over a period of time in my age, when I just went to, this, and I used to see the JCBs, and then I understood, okay, fine, they have used this application. But now children will really understand why I really need to learn that. Without that, we don't teach the students in ORCIDs. So the why will be introduced in the day one only for a kid to understand why he is reading that topic. Just to add on for DLT is just not limited to the classrooms. It is just not limited to our subject like physics, English, math, science, social. It's just not in that. It's equally distributed to scholastic, co-scholastic and extracurricular activities. We give equal importance, holistic development, what we call, and everything is imbibed very, very in a very equally and a balanced way in ORCIDs. So this DLT is actually pushed to even the co-scholastic, where there are dance classes, music classes, theatre classes. We have this DLT. We don't tell the children that you are an ME student or you're performing this well, you're not performing well. But what we do is we have separate stages in a sense in the same studio, where we don't call our music as music room or theater room. We call as studio, because
Studio.
it is actually a studio, because you have in theater the lights, what you get that experience on the stage. The studio has been formed. I will talk about it later, but what I wanted to tell you over here is the DLT is also just extended to our co-scholastic activities. Now I am very much interested in dance, but I'm not good at theater. I can't really enact, but I can dance very well. But you will be able to even do theater well in DLT. That's why we have this. The ME students, where they are there, they will be able to perform well, and they have a particular stage over there. They can go and they can enhance their skills. We have a place over there. And if you're really doing dance well, you have a platform over there where you can just wear the earphone and you can just listen to the music and compose and keep dancing on your own.
Wow.
That you can do. And probably I'm not good at dance. As I told you, that time what happens is you will be given the stepwise, and you will be made to dance in such a way you will not even know that you're dancing. So your hand and your hip and your leg movement will be given in such a way the child will enjoy easily. So this is how the teacher concentrates in the classroom by taking care of NS students also in dance, theater and music. So DLT is extended there also.
Wow, it was an absolute pleasure to hear you talk about that, ma'am.